Tocho sampo pa gyo trashi pa tuche tempe chinle yarngo da pelge drolor zampe tse parche palden lame shabla solvade Omo a guru vajradara sumati munisha sane kar Uta varda nishri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hong hong Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munish Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hong Hong Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munish Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hong Pakyuke kudan dagi lu, pakyuke sungdan dagi nga, pakyuke tukdan dagi yi, tön yerme çıktı çingi lo, makyuke kudan dagi lu, makyuke sungdan dagi nga, Ma köke tukdan dageyi tön yerme çıktı çingiyolo. Om muni muni maha muni şakya muni soha. Sashipeki chushime to tramare ravling shi nide gempadi sangye shinto mikte ulvarki Drokunam da shingla chöpar shoyidam guru ratna mindrala kam niryatayami Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi chishe gibe sonam drola pinchira sangye druparish Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu dagi chishe gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye druparisho Sangye chedan tsoge chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi chushe gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye druparasho.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo yal haye ke da ludan jinke drubundan da mi kenamdan drowa kunge dranam chitsampa tamche ke tu dagi chuten to.
when we see something for the first time, when we have this first moment of seeing, of knowing something, it's almost as if with our inside takes a photograph. That first moment when we think we are knowing, meeting a person, an object, a place, whatever it is, that first moment where we come into contact, we look inside to see what it is. And once we think we've understood, we attribute a meaning. We give it a name, as if we were taking a photograph, and that goes inside our filing system, our inner filing system. And then when we find ourselves again, or we find ourselves in front of a similar object, situation, or person, the first thing we do is we look inside our inner filing system, and we see if there's something that corresponds. And we say, okay, this is that. We're not knowing something, meeting something for the first time, but we are knowing, we are recognizing something. But as time goes on and we find ourselves more often in front of similar objects or similar experiences, we keep that same photograph and we say, this is this, this is this, this is this. And what can happen is, like a person, for example, we think that we know that person well. Think of someone close to you, a family member, your father, your mother, your child, your husband, your wife, someone very close to you. You know them, don't you? It's not a trick question. Yes, right? There was a friend once who said, before you know someone, you need to have eaten an entire bag of salt together, in the sense of lots of time needs to go by before you can say you know someone. So when we meet that person, do we say who is that, or do we recognize that person? We have an image of that person. We have an inner photograph of that person. And so what happens is that very, very often when we repeat that same photograph, and there he is, there he is, there he is, or there she is, what remains is not necessarily the traits of the person, but that photograph that we're carrying around. So often, or sometimes it can happen that at a certain point, that person doesn't correspond to that photograph anymore. And often, who do we blame? The photograph that is not up to date, or the person that shouldn't be like that? It's the person, obviously. Oh, but you're not like that. For years you were like this, and now you're not. There's something wrong, right? How did you allow yourself to change? How could you allow yourself to change? And sometimes what happens is there is a change, and there's another effect, that when the person comes to us and says, I am not that person from before. I'm not that photograph. And the person tries to make us understand that he or she is not the same person, and it's difficult for us to see that. The mental image through which we relate to everything, every person, this photograph, is extremely strong. And the more I use that same photograph, the more rigid, stronger that photograph becomes, the more it seems like the reality. At a certain point, to see that change, something that can happen is, it's like saying, the book has changed. Here, let's use the example of a person. Okay, a person says, I've changed. Oh, no, it's not true. Let's go and see. The behavior, his behavior is not the same anymore. Physical appearance is not the same anymore. inner attitudes are not the same anymore. So we can see that maybe the choices are not the same anymore. Reactions are not the same anymore. Is it the same person or not? Does that photograph correspond to that person still? No, it's not the same person. It's the continuity of that continuity of person, but it's extremely difficult for us to update mental images, and the closer we are to that person, the harder it is to update that image. If I see you today and then I see you in if I see you today and then I'll see you again in 5 years or 10 years, it'll be easier. But if I see you every day, that mental image is much more solid. Now, what's the mental image? What's the mental image that we use the most and that becomes the most rigid over time? For what object of ourselves? It's ourselves. I am. When we think about ourselves, naturally, we do it like for any other phenomenon. We see ourselves through a mental image, through a photograph. And to complicate even a little bit more, this photograph is not made up only of our experiences, but it's made up also of an idealized image of our own that our parents had of ourselves. So we add up. We also add what we would have wanted to become, but what we never became, or what we think other people want us to be. And what happens is we create this complex photograph. And even when there are aspects that don't correspond to their actual experience of the present moment, that photograph talks louder than one's actual experience. Let me give you a personal example. I've given you this example many times. It's simple and quite banal, but it works. Many years ago, I was in Holland with Rohir. He's here now, and he had organized this conference. And the day before the conference, there was a kind of pre-congress with the various doctors. There was a conference, and it was lunchtime. And what's for lunch in Holland? Normally, often there's soup and a kind of sandwich. I'm sorry for the Dutch, but this is the reality. But I don't know why. But at that time, and actually now I've made some changes with awareness, I had this very strong idea that I didn't like soup. I don't know, it's because for years and years in India, I ate very often soup in the evening. Evening is like 5 o'clock with 40 degree heat in India. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's the reason. Anyway, I had created this strong idea that I didn't like soup. I was there at lunchtime. And soup at lunchtime? Okay, maybe in the evening. Okay, but at lunch, at least a plate of pasta, something. Anyway, I was there. There was my soup. Someone came by, someone who knows me well, and said, Lama, how's lunch? And I answered, how do you want it to be? Soup for lunch? A little bit. Actually, as I was eating the soup, it was really good. The taste was good. The texture, the temperature, it was all good. I was really enjoying the soup. And when I finished that bowl of soup, the first question came to me, not a question, but the reaction that I had was, oh, I'd like another bowl of soup. I want to beat that experience. It was really good. I was enjoying it. But then right away I reacted and I said, no, I don't like soup. So even if the experience, the actual experience was good, I said, no, 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 there's something that's not right. I can't have more. Almost as if I was going against my own identity. And what I learned from that experience was that even if the experience in the present moment says something, our mental image that we have of ourselves is stronger. For example, if we have an identity, I am abandoned, no one loves me. Sometimes I hear things like this. And there's someone who loves you, who's there for you. No, no, it's not true because I'm abandoned and no one loves me. It's worse than not liking soup, but the dynamic is the same. So what happens is the identity that we have on everything, it has an enormous power over how we react and interact with other people and with, especially with ourselves. To generate a change and generate a new mental image and generate a new identity, we need to see that the parts have changed. The way of thinking is different. The body is not the same. The traits are different. All the parts are changed, and so I am different. And at that point, we need to create a new mental image, a new identity. Without seeing the changes of the various parts, it's very difficult to update the image, one's image. One fundamental problem that it's called one of the main causes of our sufferings, actually the root cause of our suffering, is the fact that we grasp at our own identity in a very strong, solid way. We say, I am that photograph that's been created in an autonomous, independent way. Let's just take a little break and then we'll come back to that. So what determines a person what determines if a person is a liar or not? I mean, are there liars? Yes. So what makes someone a liar? A person needs to lie. And a sincere person? What makes a person sincere? Someone who tells the truth, right? Okay. But how many times does one need to lie to be a liar? 1, 10, 20? One every sentence? I mean, how many lies does one need to tell to be a liar? And how many times does one need to tell the truth to be a sincere person? If one lies once, are they a liar? If that's true, then there's no one here that's not a liar, right? The truth, from my point of view, is that there's no such thing as liars and sincere people. There are people who tell lies and tell truths. We are not one thing or another. We are a flow, a continuous flow of thoughts, emotions, choices, actions, sensations, feelings, etc. It's not because I have a moment of anger that I am a person that is always angry and that I have a label of angry person. It's if someone has a violent reaction, that person is not always, it doesn't have the label of violent person. What's important with our relationship with other people, and especially the relationship with ourselves, is to not judge people, not to label people or ourselves, but on actions, on the thoughts, on behavior. One thing is, oh, here you lied, and that's not a good thing. Another thing is saying you are a liar. I mean, that's completely different. The first thing that changes is if I put emphasis on the person, you are a liar, then aversion goes towards the person. But if I say, you're not a liar, but this was a lie, you lied, because that is not a good thing. It creates suffering. So in that case, the suffering goes towards the action of lying. And that makes an enormous difference. So we are, each one of us, we are a flow, a constant flow of thoughts, sensations, emotions, choices, actions, physical states of being. We are a psychophysical reality in constant transformation. Are you following? The definition given to self from Buddha says, Pumbo Nabo, that's in Tibetan, Pumbo Nabo. If we want to simplify, so we can simplify it and make the definition shorter. The 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 more elaborate explanation has to do with the realms of non-form, some philosophical reasons. But the Pumbonabo, this identity, I, this name I, is based on, is projected on the five aggregates. The five aggregates is a way to see body and mind. We have form, our body, and all of its manifestations. We have the aggregate of sensation, which are sensations of pleasure, displeasure, and neutrality. And we have the aggregate of compositional factors. Or first of all, there's an aggregate of discernment, our ability to say this is this, that is that, to discern between things and put labels, to take snapshots, as we were saying before. And then we have the aggregate of compositional factors, which is like our personality. Within that, there's love, anger, joy, sadness, attachment, generosity, different aspects that are part of these so-called compositional factors. They're different aspects of the mind that make up the character, the personality of someone. And then there's also the aggregate of consciousness, which is the flow of flow of thoughts that are perceived by our five senses plus the sense of our mind. So our sight, our hearing, our smell, our sense of touch, etc. We could even just say we have body and mind. It's easier, no? Or even say we have the aggregate of form, aggregate of consciousness, and the aggregate of compositional factors. But because feelings, the aggregate of feeling and the aggregate of discernment are other mental factors, so why did Buddha give emphasis to these two? Because he just said that our identity is based strongly on our discernment and feelings. And our conflicts come from these the factor, this mental factor of discernment and feeling, this attachment to pleasure, aversion to pain, etc., and our labeling. So we are made of form, body, sensation, discernment, compositional factors, all the aspects of our personality, just to be more technical. There are other 49 mental factors. Those who have studied, that means something. If you haven't studied, it means nothing. But it's all the part, let's say, the aspects of our personality. And then there's the flow of of our experiences, of the flow of our thoughts. There is on the I am, this imputation of the name together with these aggregates, my different aspects of my being, the perception of my senses, etc. So there's the five aggregates, the I am, the label, and that photograph that we create. So to be able to change my identity and make sure that I can really feel and say, I am a Buddha. If I say now, are you a Buddha? What would you answer? In all sincerity. No, really, really, just feel it, feel it, feel it. Feel it. And you say, no, I don't want to offend a Buddha. No, I've got this, that, and the other. I'm not a Buddha. So the process, first of all, we need to develop the characteristics of a Buddha, and we need to transform these five aggregates. One main reason why the Dhyani Buddhas are five is because the basis of imputation of self, the base of our identity, is made up these five parts. We have Buddha Viruchana, the personification of a pure form. We have Buddha Amitabha, who is the embodiment of a pure aggregate of discernment. We have Buddha Akshobhya, blue in color, who is the personification of the aggregate of consciousness in the pure state. We have Buddha Ratnasambhava, who is the embodiment of the aggregate of sensation in the pure state. And then we have Buddha Amoghasiddhi, who is the embodiment of the aggregate of the compositional factors in the pure state. So what happens is in the process of self-healing, one thing that we do is we gradually generate these five Dhyani Buddhas, the lotus flower, seed syllables, the symbols, and then finally the Buddhas. And the identity, I am Amoghasiddhi, I am Ratnasambhava, I am Akshobhya, I am Amitabha, I am Viruchana. What does that mean? This morning, briefly we talked about colors, right? The Buddhas are all of those characteristics developed to their maximum potential. So if I say I am Amoghasiddhi, what am I saying? I am the power of realization. I am security. I am the power of opposition. I am the rejoicing. I am action. I am compositional factors in a pure state. I am all those things. If I am Ratnasambhava, I am equality. I am generosity. I am humbleness. If I'm Akshobhya, I'm love, compassion, patience, stability, joy. If I am Amitabha, I am concentration. I am satisfaction. I am pure, holy, coherent speech. If I'm Virochana, I am wisdom. I am infinite inner space. And if I am all of these, I am a Buddha. So in the practice of self-healing, first of all, we're going to generate each one, beginning with the lotus flowers, where we create the right condition to develop these qualities. And then we recognize our potential in the seed syllable, and then like watering these seed syllables with the two accumulations of merit and wisdom, with the visualizations and the emanations of light rays that go out and then come back, and then the seed syllables transform into the symbols until they become the Buddhas. These qualities um, at, develop to their maximum um, ability. And then we identify ourselves in each of these 5 Dhyani Bhuttas. Once we do that, then we do the Vajra Master initiation, during which what we do actually is we visualize Vajra and bell with a hugging mudra. Usually we're silent. And after the empowerments of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, sometimes I've seen Rinpoche say, Aham Vajradhara, or I am Vajradhara in Tibetan. What does that mean? Vajra is method, love and compassion. Bell, wisdom. Male energy, female energy. It has nothing to do with being a man or being a woman. It goes much farther beyond. In other cultures, we have yang, the yin and the yang. There are many different ways to talk about, to see these male and female energies. So it's the union of these two energies. The Vajra and bell represents the mind of a Buddha. The mind of a Buddha is a non-dual state, where the deep state of bliss and from that deep state of, it's the mind of deep bliss that recognizes the true nature of all phenomena. Vajra, Dara, Vajra means diamond, something indestructible, non-dual, and Dara means the holder. He who holds what is indestructible. Dorje Chang, the more than uphold, is he who holds. So what is this indestructible diamond that he holds? It's an inner non-dual state of love and compassion, or the union of bliss and emptiness, wisdom and method, a relative and ultimate truth. So if I am Amoghasiddhi, Ratnasambhava, Akshobhya, Amitabha, Uveruchana, so all 5 aggregates, each one is pure, is of a Buddha. I am the aggregate of sensation of Ratnasambhava in a pure state, or the aggregate of consciousness of Akshobhya in a pure state. I am the aggregate of compositional factors in a pure state. I am Amoghasiddhi. I am the pure aggregate of discernment of Amitabha. I am the pure aggregate of form of Vairochana. So if my aggregates are pure, I'm a Buddha. So the aggregates are the basis of identity. And Vajradhara is our new label, it's the new imputation of the name. I am a Buddha. I am this state of bliss and emptiness with my 5 aggregates in a pure state. And we generate this identity in a pure state. I am a Buddha. Afterwards, when there's the so-called secret wisdom and word empowerment, which we'll explain later, this is where we take this identity. I am a Buddha. I am Vajradhara. I am the holder of I am the diamond holder, the state of this non-dual state of bliss and emptiness, method and wisdom. It's also called the non-dual wisdom of the illusory body and the clear light. I am this pure state. We take it from a coarse, gross level to a subtle and very subtle level, and that's the process of the secret empowerment, Om Mani Padme Hum, and then the wisdom empowerment, Oma Sukha Hum, and then the word empowerment was Om Bishwat Shanti Hum. Okay? So the process is to gradually change the identity of the parts so that we change the identity of the whole. Do you understand the process? And this is what, within self-healing, that's what we're doing. So it's described as, who are these 5 Dhyani Buddhas? It's said that they are the five aggregates of a Buddha. Actually, the reason why there are 5 Dhyani Buddhas is because they're the 5 aggregates. It's the embodiment of the 5 aggregates in a pure state. They're the 5 aggregates, and there are 5 wisdoms, and I don't know, with the 10 minutes we have, we open this door, but very, very quickly we can do it. So little by little we deepen, so white form, yellow sensation, red discernment, green is our personality, compositional factors, and blue is our mind, our consciousness. So beyond that, another important aspect are the 5 wisdoms. The 5 wisdoms they exist in 3 states, a little bit like water. It can be solid, it can be liquid or vapor. So these 5 wisdoms can be at the state of the basis, how they are for most of us now that we're not Buddhas, or the resultant state, the state of a Buddha, or the path along the way. These are 5 aspects of our mind without which the mind wouldn't work. So if we took one of the 5 wisdoms, we wouldn't work anymore. It would become absolutely chaotic. So the 5 wisdoms are 5 fundamental aspects of the structure of our mind. Just to name them, let's start with Viruchana, start with white. It's the mirror-like wisdom. And then yellow, we have the wisdom of equality. Red is the wisdom of discernment that understands everything. Green, the wisdom, the all-realizing wisdom of Amoghasiddhi. And blue, the Dharma Dhatu wisdom. What does this mean? We say, let's develop the mirror-like wisdom, or wisdom of equality. These are names, and if we don't give these names a meaning, they're just things, a list. I mean, what is it? Nothing. So we need to try to understand it. There are complicated explanations. Once I found something quite clear and easier. So let's start with the all-accomplishing wisdom of Buddha Amoghasiddha. The all-accomplishing wisdom of the basis is what we have now, is our ability to think, I want this, I don't want that. I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. It's the part of our mind that directs itself towards the action. A mind without the wisdom of the basis, the all-accomplishing wisdom, often without that, it's a mind that doesn't accomplish much. It would be a mind that is not able to act. because the part of our mind that brings us towards an action is this all-accomplishing wisdom. The all-accomplishing wisdom that is not very developed, full of um, i- full of doubts, is not very active. Then we have Ratnasambhava, this wisdom of equality. Our ability at the basis, it's our ability to see similarities between things. In this moment, for example, I see you all and I see that you're a little bit different. It's in certain aspects very different, but you're all human beings, apparently. I think so. So my ability to say you are the same as being human beings, I'm able to make categories of similar things. To say they're equal. Imagine if we weren't able to do that, to make categories of similar things. It would be absolutely chaotic. So this characteristic of our mind to see similarities and put them in the same category is called the wisdom of equality. Yellow. And the more we develop this wisdom, the more we're able to see similarities. I say, okay, everyone wants to be happy and no one wants to suffer. Everyone is impermanent. What's the difference or what's similar between you and a rock? You lack inherent existence. I mean, there are many different levels on which we can categorize objects. Let's skip Akshobhya and go to Amitabha, the wisdom of discernment. So Sortopayeshe in Tibetan, it's the wisdom that understands everything. But but we can translate it as the wisdom of discernment, this ability to understand specific characteristics of things. So the wisdom of equality says you are all human beings. The wisdom of discernment says he's taller, she's shorter, his hair is like this, his hair is like that, to see specific traits, characteristics of objects. What would happen if we weren't able to see specific characteristics? It would be absolute chaos. We wouldn't be able to function. And then we have the mirror-like wisdom. A mirror can reflect many objects. If I put a mirror here, it could reflect all of you that are seated here, including also the lake behind. Our mind, the wisdom, the, the mirror-like wisdom, is this ability to perceive more images, more objects at once. At once, we can see people, we can hear sounds, we can smell smells, taste things. Once I heard in a documentary that talked about something scientific that said, according to certain studies, in every second, the brain receives something like 2 billion pieces of information among all of our senses. And among these 2 billion, on average, we're aware of 2,000. This is the mirror-like wisdom of a dirty mirror. The more aware we are of what appears to us, the cleaner the mirror is. Imagine mirror-like wisdom of a Buddha is like receiving 2 billion pieces of information and being aware of 2 billion pieces of information. wisdom, the wisdom of Dharmadhatu, or the Chunying, the wisdom of phenomenon, is not an aspect of the mind, but it's the mind itself. The Dharmadhatu wisdom is the characteristic of the mind, where the mind is not, in its nature, it is neither virtuous nor non-virtuous. The mind is neither of nature of love or nature of anger. It depends on how you use it. If you condition it with hatred, anger, and aggression, then it would be the wisdom of Dharmadhatu at the basis. And if it's free of all those mental defilements, it would be the wisdom of Dharmadhatu of a Buddha. Like, for example, if you take a crystal and we fill it up with mud and we just make it really dirty. A crystal is always a crystal, right? So who keeps a dirty crystal? It still has a dirty crystal. When you're able to clean it, that you have a clean crystal. The wisdom of Dharmadhatu, of the basis, is dirty, and the clean one is the resultant Dharmadhatu wisdom. So the 5 characteristics that we have, the all-accomplishing wisdom is our ability to act. The wisdom of equality is this ability to see similarities and put them together and to relate to them. The wisdom of discernment is our ability to relate to specific characteristics of objects, and the wisdom, a mirror-like wisdom, is our ability to see more than one object that appears to our senses, and the wisdom of Dharmadhatu is the mind itself, with or without mental defilements. So we have white, Buddha Viruchana, mirror-like wisdom in the pure state. Amitabha, the embodiment of the wisdom of discernment. We have Akshobhya, it's the personification, the embodiment of the wisdom of Dharmadhatu in a pure state. Ratnasambhava, the embodiment of the wisdom of equality. And Amoghasiddhi, the embodiment of the wisdom of all-accomplishing wisdom. All of these wisdoms start where we are, start at a basis where we are, and we familiarize ourselves with these characteristics that we already have, so that we can perfect them and reach that state. So when we do the practice of self-healing, it's not about taking something from outside. It's about nourishing what we already have and transforming it. And first of all, we said that important phrase, I am my own protector, I am my own enemy. There's another important phrase. It's not from Buddha's teachings, but it's valid just the same. And the concept exists within the Buddhist teachings. It says, wherever there's interaction, there's transformation. Transformation comes according to the type of interaction. Are you following? So if I interact with an identity, I am a difficult person, a bad person, an ugly person, alone. And how am I transforming myself? I'm giving more solidity to that. Instead, if I interact with an identity based on the feeling of love and patience and purity, and then I'm going to interact with that identity, and I'm going to transform myself in that direction. And here's another key to self-healing. In the next days, we'll give emphasis to one part of the practice. But today, I wanted to really work on the symbolism of self-healing. And let's remember once again that we use symbolism because we're using form for that which doesn't have form. If I were to say, identify yourself with the wisdom, with mirror-like, with having mirror-like wisdom. But instead, when you're able to attribute all this meaning to that symbol, then naturally it will come. It all comes together. So now we're going to conclude here, and I'll see you in at 11 hours and 59 minutes.
Drowe munse takto ne gyuruchi kewa kunto yanda lama dan drame cheki pela longche chi sada lamge yunte rapzone dorje changi kopa nyurto basho. Come si dice in inglese, last but not least.
As we say in English, last but not least, I'll be very brief because I've already said many things. Along our path, it's not enough just to understand, and it's not enough just to meditate. We need to apply all of this in our daily lives. We need to face our arrogance, our attachments, and apply to our daily life. That's called karma yoga. So, and it's doing it with the right awareness is very, very important. Karma yoga in itself goes beyond, being a volunteer here at the center. It's something that's part of life. And we've had many, many people who are helping the center. And in particular in the Gompa, we have Jerry and Hachir who are here. They're here helping in the Gompa. But in a few days, they're going on to another phase of their lives. So we'd like to thank them for all the dedication, all the affection, everything that they have shown us. So please come here so we can thank you. Give me a hug. In this moment, Jerry is going to go take care of his mom a little bit. It's something very important. And Hajir is going to finish his studies in medicine. So we wish them both well.
Ninsen takto delek pe kuncho sumki chingilo kuncho sumki ngodrub tsol kuncho sumki trashisho.
And this evening we have a concert in Gifa for music and spirituality, organized mostly by Pierfranco and Simona and all these marvelous artists who are combining their art and spirituality. So those who are able to get to Gifa tonight, you're very welcome. You're you're encouraged to go.
Grazie. Ci vediamo fra.
And we'll see you in 11 hours and 50 minutes.